Good morning. Yesterday, I suddenly started hacking up a bunch of phlegm and I suddenly felt horrible, congested, itchy throat, body aches. I barely slept all night. I could barely talk, so I came down with something. Now, I've been collecting this beautiful herbal potions collection for months now. And let's see what I have that can help me with my whatever this virus upper respiratory issue is. I'll start with feverfew. This is a plant that's native to Eurasia, not California, but it now grows throughout the world, and it's been used for centuries to treat headaches, which I currently have, and fevers. So I'll be adding this to a tea. You can use the flowers, stems, and leaves. I think the star of the potion that I'm going to make is elderberry flower. A lot of people might be familiar with elderberries, sambuca, or whatever extract as being good for colds and flus, but the training I received was actually that it's the flowers that contain the compounds that are so good for colds and flus. The flowers that were used by California Native Americans, like the chumash. So I'm going to make a tea with about 1 teaspoon of dried elderberry blossoms in a cup and a half of simmering water, and I'm going to leave it there for 5 minutes. And apparently it's going to taste awful. This is white horehound. It's growing all over Los Angeles, and this is where I've harvested it. It's another naturalized, introduced species from Europe and I think Asia as well. And it's been used for centuries, I think going back to the first year BC, as a cough treatment, and it's currently still used in like Ricola cough drops. So it also tastes kind of like a mix between menthol and root beer. I've tried this one before. It basically tastes terrible as well. I'm going to add it to my tea though. These are wild fennel seeds, and they are definitely going in my tea because fennel, I mean, I think of it as a digestive treatment most of all, and also it's delicious, and that's mainly why it's going in my tea, but it's also supposed to be good for coughs, and it has a lot of antioxidant properties and a lot of nutritious value as well. This one's also growing all over Los Angeles. This plant is called California cudweed, also everlasting, also rabbit tobacco or lady's tobacco because it was smoked for a while by European peasants. But this one grows native to California. It's also supposed to be good for all the things that I have problems with right now: congestion, cold, fever, headache, pneumonia, cough. So I'll be adding a teaspoon of this to my tea. And here we have some common yarrow, Achillea millifolia. Now this plant, I'm going to tell you about that one. This plant, it was so commonly used for healing that, the legend has it that Achilles used it in his army, and that's part of the reason they were so successful. That's why it gets its genus, Achillea, because it was a healing plant for all sorts of ailments that soldiers would have. It's also called soldier's woundwort. It was used by the Miwok in California to heal fevers and congestion. So it tastes terrible. It's really bitter and astringent. I've already used this in a tea before, and it's real gross. But I think a lot of my other herbs are going to be pretty bad tasting. So I'm already planning on adding a bunch of honey and just dealing with it. So it's going in my tea. Oh yeah, this is an example of bad. So it's kind of soft and damp. I must not have completely dried this plant. You can see it's a totally different color than my more nicely dried. You always want to use a desiccant in a glass jar. So these little things that you grab from food containers to absorb any extra moisture that might degrade or like cause mold in your herbs. So this one's going in the trash. It also smells wonky. I mean, it's supposed to smell very pungent, but not quite this bad. This most excellent book, Healing with Medicinal Plants of the West, has this to say about yarrow. We take our medicine softly and neutrally. Sucking on a yarrow leaf gives the proper dose that the body can absorb. Suck on it until it loses its flavor. Cecilia Garcia Chumash. So I'm doing that. There's my yarrow leaf, and it tastes disgusting, and I'm going to have to suck on it till it loses all flavor. Great. Are the herbs I'm going to use for my tea. We have the blue elderberry, feverfew. I'm really banking on these two. The fennel that I'm really just hoping to combat the flavor of these two, which I've had in teas before. They're disgusting. White horehound and, excuse me, common yarrow. And then this is everlasting, which I've just heard many good things about. And I'll let you know. So So as with all plant medicines, it's best to start low and slow. So I'm not going to drink 4 cups of this. I'm going to drink 1 cup of this and then see how I do. So I put a tablespoon or a teaspoon of honey in here, and so the forward flavor is quite nice. And the aftertaste is a mix of like this weird root beer tang, which would be the horehound, and then like just awful bitter, 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 bitter. But I'm kind of used to it, so it doesn't really bother me. I'll let you know how it goes.